What if losing everything led you to find yourself, and then, quite unexpectedly, complicate everyone else's love life along the way?
Mm.
Welcome to the topsy-turvy, wonderfully chaotic world of Illyria in one of Shakespeare's most celebrated comedies, Twelfth Night.
That's right. Today we're embarking on a deep dive into Twelfth Night, or what you will. It's really a play that stands out even among Shakespeare's comedies.
Yeah, how so?
Well, for its remarkable sophistication and just its heartwarming essence, for centuries it has captivated audiences not just with its brilliant, like, rapid-fire, witty dialogue and intricate, sometimes, bewildering plot lines,
Mhm.
but also with its surprisingly profound exploration of these timeless human themes.
And that's exactly what we're here to uncover. How does Shakespeare, with such masterful craftsmanship, weave together laugh-out-loud humor with surprising psychological depth? We'll be examining love in its myriad, sometimes quite ridiculous forms, exploring the fascinating fluidity of identity and gender, and delving into that enduring, universal human quest for joy and, well, self-acceptance.
Yeah.
It's truly a play that offers insights into our own human nature that still resonates strongly with you today, even, right now. Because let's be honest, who hasn't felt a little bit like they're wearing a mask or maybe yearning for a love that seems just out of reach?
It truly does, and I think that's why it's so enduring. We'll begin by sort of mapping out the core plot, tracing the journey of its shipwrecked heroines and heroes,
Okay.
and then exploring the major turning points that twist everything around. After that, we'll spend some quality time getting to know Illyria's vibrant inhabitants, from the clever truth-telling fool to the very self-deluded steward.
Right, Malvolio. And finally, we'll peel back the layers to unpack the major themes, everything from mistaken identity and love's many complexities to gender roles, the interplay of melancholy and merriment, and that constant, often deceptive, dance between appearance and reality.
Exactly. It's going to be a rich, entertaining, and ultimately, I think, deeply insightful exploration.
So prepare yourselves, because it's time to truly unpack this topsy-turvy world.
Let's dive in.
Our journey into the heart of Illyria begins, quite literally, with a shipwreck. Picture the chaos. Raging seas, a vessel breaking apart, and amidst it all, Viola, a noblewoman, clinging desperately to survival, washed ashore on the strange, unfamiliar coast of Illyria. Her immediate world has just been shattered. Not only has she lost everything, but she tragically believes her beloved twin brother, Sebastian, has drowned in the same tempest.
It's a moment of immense vulnerability, isn't it? And profound grief that forces her to make an almost unthinkable decision.
Absolutely.
And to navigate this new daunting environment safely, to, ensure her very survival as a lone, unprotected woman, and to find some semblance of place for herself, Viola makes this audacious decision.
Which is?
She chooses to disguise herself as a young man, adopting the name Cesario, and seeks service in the court of the local ruler, Duke Orsino. And this isn't merely a convenient plot device, you see. It's the fundamental catalyst. It sets in motion all the romantic chaos, the comedic misunderstandings, and the deep thematic explorations of the entire play. Her act of disguise is, well, it's a radical, empowering act of self-preservation and transformation.
And it's such a clever, almost subversive move, isn't it?
Yeah.
This act of disguise allows Viola to gain a remarkable level of agency in what was, undeniably, a male-dominated society.
Absolutely.
As Cesario, she's granted access to spaces and conversations she simply wouldn't have as a woman, offering her this unique vantage point and surprising influence. She effectively crafts a new identity, one that paradoxically gives her both anonymity and, well, power.
Yeah, what do you think is the immediate benefit of that disguise beyond just personal safety?
Well, beyond safety, it's about social mobility and a form of freedom, I think. As Cesario, she can move through the court, directly serving the Duke, gaining his trust and confidence in a way a lady-in-waiting might not.
Right, she's perceived as competent and trustworthy in a male role. And this also sets up the delicious, dramatic irony of the play, which we'll see unfold almost immediately.
Absolutely. From that initial act of disguise, the plot quickly spirals into a series of deeply entangling love triangles, each fueled by a cascade of unrequited desires. You're first introduced to Duke Orsino, who is utterly consumed by this self-indulgent, almost performatively dramatic, unrequited love for the beautiful, elusive Lady Olivia. He practically luxuriates in his melancholy, wrapping himself in this cloak of artistic suffering.
He does, doesn't he? He famously declares right at the top of the play, "If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that surfeiting, the appetite may sicken and so die.
Such a famous line.
It really is, and it perfectly captures his intense yet incredibly fickle emotional state. He's so enamored with the idea of being in love, the feeling of longing, that he wants to just drown himself in it until the very desire itself perishes.
It's quite something.
He even later admits his fancies are more giddy and unfirm, more longing, wavering, sooner lost and worn. He's, a lover of love, not necessarily the loved one herself. What do you think that reveals about his emotional maturity?
Oh, it speaks volumes, I think, about a certain kind of youthful, perhaps privileged, emotional extravagance. He's almost more comfortable with the pursuit and the melancholy
Yes.
than with the messy reality of true reciprocal affection. And this is precisely where Viola's unwitting role as Cesario dramatically complicates matters.
Right.
Orsino, completely unaware of Cesario's true identity, employs him as his most trusted messenger, dispatching him repeatedly to woo Olivia on his behalf.
Which creates an immediate, delicious layer of dramatic irony, that powerful theatrical device where we, the audience, know something crucial the characters on stage don't.
Exactly. Because you are privy to Viola's true gender from the very start.
And that knowledge for the audience immediately puts Viola in what she calls a barful strife, a wonderfully evocative phrase for a difficult, conflicted struggle.
A barful strife, I like that.
Yeah, she's caught in this agonizing position, forced to woo Olivia for the very man she secretly loves. It's an almost unbearable paradox, isn't it, where her professional duty directly clashes with her deepest personal desire.
It truly is heartbreaking to watch her navigate that internal conflict, a kind of elegant agony. She poignantly reveals her anguish and aside, thinking, whoe'er I woo myself would be his wife.
Oof, yeah.
The pain of advocating for a rival while hiding her own heart must be immense. But then, the twists keep coming, and with astonishing speed. Despite Olivia's initial stern resolve, her self-imposed 7-year mourning period for her brother, and her firm rejection of Orsino's advances, she swiftly and passionately falls in love with Cesario.
Like instantly.
Instantly. Her intense, almost comically diluted affection leads her to exclaim, I am as mad as he, if sad and merry madness equal be, acknowledging the overwhelming, disorienting nature of her sudden feelings.
It's truly a rapid, unpredictable shift, highlighting the often irrational and intoxicating nature of love in this play. She goes from absolute grief to absolute infatuation in the blink of an eye.
While this main plot weaves its tangled romantic web, a fantastic parallel subplot is unfolding in Olivia's household.
Yes, often described as a play within a play, centered around the rigid character of Malvolio.
Malvolio.
So Olivia's kinsman, Sir Toby Belch, a boisterous, perpetually drunk figure, and his foolish companion, Sir Andrew Eggcheek, they represent a spirit of unbridled revelry, embodying the sort of carnivalesque energy of the title. They are constantly clashing with Olivia's rigid, self-righteous, and deeply puritanical steward, Malvolio,
Right.
whose disdain for their uncivil rule and joyous chaos makes him a prime target for their mischief.
Malvolio is truly a piece of work. He's so convinced of his own virtue and superiority. Maria, Olivia's witty and sharp-minded gentlewoman, accurately describes him, doesn't she?
She does. How does she put it?
As a time-pleaser, an affectioned ass, so crammed with excellencies that it is his grounds of faith that all that look on him love him.
Yeah, she perfectly nails his deeply ingrained narcissism and his barely concealed ambition to climb the social ladder. He truly belows everyone, especially Olivia, is secretly enamored with him.
That intense self-delusion, fueled by his pride, is ultimately his undoing, isn't it?
Completely. Maria, with her keen intellect and, let's face it, desire for revenge against Malvolio's constant scolding, devises this elaborate scheme. She forges a letter in Olivia's distinctive handwriting.
Oh, brilliant.
A letter so cleverly crafted that it leads Malvolio to believe Olivia is passionately, secretly in love with him. The trick is brilliantly designed to expose and exploit his vanity, playing directly into his pre-existing fantasies of marrying his mistress and rising above his station.
Ah, the glorious, excruciating humiliation. The forged letter, supposedly from Olivia, instructs him to wear hideous yellow stockings.
Which she hates.
Exactly. To be cross-gartered, another fashion Olivia despises, and, most absurdly, to smile constantly.
Smile while she's in mourning.
Right. Malvolio, completely absorbed in his self-delusion and convinced of his imminent social ascent, eagerly adopts these ridiculous habits. He even recites in this truly pompous manner the famous line, Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them, genuinely believing he is on the cusp of true aristocratic grandeur.
It's one of the most comically cringeworthy yet deeply unsettling moments in all of Shakespeare,
Totally.
and it leads directly to his public humiliation and eventual cruel imprisonment. Malvolio's bizarre appearance and outlandish behavior, far from charming Olivia, lead her to conclude he is utterly mad.
Yeah, she says why this is very Midsummer Madness.
Exactly. She believes he's lost his wits. He is then cruelly imprisoned in a dark room, a kind of psychological torture chamber, really.
It gets quite dark there.
It does. And Feste, the wise fool, disguised as Sir Topus the curate, mockingly exorcises him as a lunatic, ridiculing his hyperbolical language and self-aggrandizing pronouncements. It's a dark, unsettling turn in an otherwise comedic subplot, highlighting the potential cruelty of unchecked merriment.
Just when you think the confusion and chaos couldn't possibly get any wilder, boom! Sebastian, Viola's twin brother, arrives in Illyria.
Right. Unbeknownst to Viola, he also miraculously survived the shipwreck, washing ashore elsewhere. He arrives accompanied by the devoted Antonio, a sea captain who adores Sebastian with this intense, almost worshipful loyalty, despite having past enemies in Orsino's court, which places him in real danger just by being there.
And Sebastian's arrival is the true detonator, isn't it?
Yeah.
Supercharging the mistaken identities to an almost farcical level.
Absolutely. Sir Toby, ever the mischief maker, still reveling in the chaos, tricks Sir Andrew into challenging Cesario Viola to a duel, convinced he is a coward.
Which is hilarious because Viola is terrified.
Totally. This ridiculous, almost harmless duel is then abruptly interrupted by Antonio, who, seeing what he believes is his beloved Sebastian in peril, steps in to defend Viola.
Naturally, he mistakes Viola for Sebastian.
Of course, leading to Antonio's immediate arrest by Orsino's officers due to his past infractions. This further complicates the already intertwined destinies and creates palpable tension.
And then we reach the absolute peak of comedic confusion, a moment that feels both inevitable and astonishing.
Yeah.
Olivia encounters Sebastian, whom she, of course, instantly mistakes for Cesario. Without hesitation, swept up in her midsummer madness, she declares her love, leading to their hasty offstage marriage.
Bam. Married. She literally marries the wrong twin, convinced she's marrying the man she's fallen for, fulfilling this rapid and wild desire for connection.
It's incredible.
The dramatic climax, and indeed the much-anticipated resolution of all this romantic and identity chaos, arrives when Sebastian and Viola finally appear together side by side.
The big reveal.
It's a moment of pure theatrical payoff, where all the pieces of the puzzle suddenly snap into place. Orsino, confronted with the undeniable visual evidence, finally realizes Cesario's true identity, recognizing the woman he has grown to love hidden within the boy.
And Sebastian.
Sebastian, for his part, confirms his unexpected yet seemingly happy marriage to Olivia.
And with that grand reveal, a cascade of happy endings begins to unfold. Orsino, acknowledging his love for the true Viola, recognizing the deep connection they've built beyond her disguise, asks for her hand in marriage.
Right. And almost as an afterthought offstage, Sir Toby and Maria also marry.
Oh, yeah.
A fitting union of cunning and comic spirit, symbolizing a return to social harmony and traditional order within the household. It's a beautifully neat tying up of most loose ends, leaving a sense of comedic satisfaction.
However, there's always a however in Shakespeare, isn't there?
There often is. The festivities, as often happens, are tinged with a dark, unresolved note, ensuring the play isn't simply a fairy tale. Malvolio. He's finally released from his cruel imprisonment in the dark room, and when he understands the elaborate trick played on him, he is utterly furious. He furiously vows, "I'll be revenged on the whole pack of you."
Telling.
His anger leaves this potent, unsettling shadow over the otherwise joyous conclusion, a stark reminder that not all characters find a happy resolution or reconciliation in Illyria, and that certain grievances endure.
Now that we've navigated the whirlwind plot and its delightful complexities, let's take a closer look at the extraordinary individuals who populate Illyria. And where better to start than with Viola, or rather, Cesario, the very architect of all this delicious chaos, and ultimately the catalyst for profound self-discovery, both for herself and others.
Viola's decision to disguise herself as Cesario, as we discussed, is initially born out of necessity after her shipwreck. It's survival.
Right.
But it quickly becomes clear that this cunning role-playing proves incredibly empowering. It grants her a unique vantage point and an unexpected level of agency in Illyrian society.
Yeah, she's not just surviving. She's subtly influencing every major character around her, observing their follies, and even shaping their affections from within the very fabric of their world.
She truly is. Viola consistently demonstrates sharp wit, a keen intellect, and a remarkable self-awareness throughout the play. She's really Feste's only true intellectual match, isn't she?
Absolutely. Their verbal sparring is always a delight. It's also fascinating how, even after her true identity is revealed and Orsino proposes marriage, he continues to address her as boy. Remember that line? Boy, thou hast said to me 1,000 times.
Yes. It subtly highlights the play's deeper exploration of gender fluidity and the enduring nature of the identity she adopted. She promises to change back to her woman's weeds, but the play ends without showing this transformation,
Interesting point.
leaving a lingering question about her comfort or familiarity with her male persona.
And that leads us perfectly to Duke Orsino, a character who, despite his grand pronouncements on love, seems initially more in love with the idea of love,
Oh.
or the state of being in love, than with any actual person. His initial state is one of performative emotion, just wallowing in his unrequited feelings for Olivia. His affections, as he himself admits, are giddy and unfirm, shifting as quickly as the wind.
He's a poet of his own misery, crafting these beautiful lines about his suffering, yet seemingly quite content to remain in that state of longing.
But what's truly fascinating here, and something that sparks a lot of discussion, through the centuries, is his deep and growing attraction to Cesario, whom he believes to be a man. This offers a captivating glimpse into Elizabethan modes of attraction, which, in that era, focus more on intense interpersonal dynamics and patterns of behavior, on shared sensibility and witty exchange, rather than rigid modern identity labels.
Right. It subtly suggests a type of queerness within the text itself, pushing against easy categorization of desire. It's not just infatuation. He genuinely seems to develop a profound emotional and intellectual bond with Cesario.
Precisely. His ultimate shift of affection to Viola, once her true female identity is known, reveals a journey, doesn't it? From that self-indulgent, idealized longing to a more genuine, reciprocal love.
Yeah, it's a significant transformation for him, moving from a superficial performance of love to a true connection with someone who understands him on a deeper level, having seen him from the unique vantage point of Cesario.
Then there's Lady Livia, who goes from being excessively melancholic to suddenly, almost shockingly, merry.
Quite the swing.
Her initial state is one of severe, self-imposed mourning for her brother, vowing to avoid society and even the sun for 7 years. But this extreme grief abruptly gives way to an intense, almost comical infatuation with Cesario.
This rapid, almost unhinged shift truly underscores the unpredictable, sometimes irrational, and often disorienting nature of love in Shakespeare's world.
Her sudden, mistaken love for Cesario is explicitly characterized by Olivia herself as a form of midsummer madness, right? A time of wild, almost supernatural enchantment.
Yes, highlighting the intoxicating and disorienting power of passion, suggesting love can be a kind of temporary delusion. Her impulsive nature, combined with her deep desire to find joy and connection after her prolonged grief, ultimately leads to her willingness to marry Sebastian, believing him to be Cesario, showcasing a profound acceptance of the unforeseen and a desperate embrace of happiness.
Now let's talk about Malvolio, the pompous, puritanical figure.
Oh, boy.
He's truly defined by his overwhelming self-love, his arrogance, and his rigid, joyless moralism. His very name, derived from Italian roots meaning ill will or bad desire, perfectly encapsulates his character.
And Maria, as we mentioned, hits the nail on the head when she says he's the best persuaded of himself, so crammed with excellencies that it is his grounds of faith that all that look on him love him.
Yeah, he genuinely believes himself to be superior to everyone around him. Malvolio is truly a prime satirical target for Shakespeare.
He's used to poke fun at the rising puritanical figures of his era, who were often perceived by the more traditional, festive society as killjoys, condemning all forms of pleasure, from theater to drinking.
Right, the anti-fun police.
Pretty much. While scholars debate the historical accuracy of this caricature, Malvolio certainly embodies the negative stereotype of rigid self-righteousness. His desperate ambition to climb the social ladder and marry Olivia makes him incredibly vulnerable to Maria's clever trick, leading him to abandon his moral principles for superficial display, eager to embody the absurd instructions of the forged letter.
And his enduring grievance, that final furious vow, I'll be revenged on the whole pack of you, it leaves such a potent, unresolved shadow over the otherwise joyous ending.
It really does. It's a powerful reminder that not all characters in Shakespeare's comedies find happiness, reconciliation, or even a sense of justice. Malvolio's suffering is very real, even if self-inflicted, and his exit leaves a lingering sense of unease.
Moving from the rigid to the fluid, we have Feste, Olivia's professional fool, but far from foolish. He epitomizes Shakespeare's later philosopher fools.
Yeah, he's often presented as an omniscient observer, moving freely between social strata, using a sharp wit, riddles, and melancholic songs to expose the follies of others and comment on the transient nature of life.
He proudly states, "Better a witty fool than a foolish wit," which is such a profound statement on appearance versus reality.
Exactly. He's a true truth-teller through humor, almost a moral compass for the play. He directly challenges Olivia's excessive performative mourning, pointing out, with stinging logic, the more fool, Madonna, to mourn for your brother's soul being in heaven.
Such a burn.
It is. He also highlights the crucial theme of appearance versus reality with his Latin phrase, cucullus non facit monachum, meaning the cowl makes not a monk.
Or as we'd say today, don't judge a book by its cover.
Precisely. He reminds us, and the characters, that true wisdom isn't always found in expected places, and that his motley clothes don't signify a foolish mind. In fact, he's perhaps the wisest of them all.
I think you're right.
Indeed. Feste truly embodies the spirit of Twelfth Night itself, which takes its name from the Feast of the Epiphany, a time when social norms were playfully inverted and chaos reigned. He participates actively in the exorcism of Malvolio, blurring the lines between performance and reality and showcasing the play's deep, carnivalesque energy where the world is turned upside down.
Then we have Sir Toby Belch and Maria, the true architects of mischief in Olivia's household. Sir Toby, Olivia's perpetually drunken kinsman, is a classic comic figure, a true force of nature.
He really is.
Who delights in revelry, late-night carousing, and the manipulation of the gullible Sir Andrew. His boisterousness and indulgent lifestyle contrast sharply with Malvolio's rigid self-righteousness, setting up the core conflict of the subplot.
And his alcoholism, though primarily played for laughs, also serves as a subtle critique of excessive consumption in society, reminding us that even revelry has its darker side.
That's a good point. And Maria, she's the real brains behind the Malvolio plot, arguably one of the most intelligent characters in the play.
Absolutely. She's described as a beagle true-bred, meaning sharp and keen with strong rhetoric and a keen wit that Sir Toby greatly admires. Her intellect is not just for mischief, it's a source of power.
And their eventual marriage off stage suggests a fitting union, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Of cunning and comic spirit, a pairing that thrives outside the rigid social expectations of the aristocracy.
Yeah, they represent a more grounded, perhaps more honest approach to life's pleasures.
Rounding out our gallery of characters is Sir Andrew Aguecheek, the easily duped suitor.
Poor Sir Andrew.
Oh, Sir Andrew. He is a shallow, profoundly illiterate, and dim-witted character whose foolish attempts to woo Olivia are just a comic parody of Malvolio's own self-delusion. He's all bluster and no substance.
He famously laments his lack of intellectual pursuits, delivering one of the play's most self-aware yet totally ironic lines. I would I had bestowed that time in the tongues that I have in fencing, dancing, and bear-baiting. Oh, had I but followed the arts. Huh. He recognizes his own intellectual shortcomings, but it's way too late. He's a consistent source of humor, primarily as the pathetic target of Sir Toby's schemes and manipulations, including being tricked into that ridiculous, cowardly duel with Cesario. He even confuses the term accost for Maria's name, further displaying his ignorance.
Oh, yeah.
Like Malvolio, his prospect of marrying Olivia ends, well, comically badly. They both represent a satirical parody of these ill-mannered, ambitious courtiers who are just way out of their depth.
And finally, Sebastian and Antonio, characters whose arrival is crucial for the plot's resolution and who add layers of complexity to the play's exploration of love.
Right. Sebastian, Viola's twin brother, is the key to untangling all the play's mistaken identities, allowing for the reestablishment of conventional romantic pairings. He provides the mirror image needed to set everything right.
And he also brings a touch of physical capability, being the one who actually confronts and knocks around Sir Toby and Sir Andrew.
Yeah, restoring a fleeting sense of order among the revelers. But Antonio, his deep loyalty and passionate love for Sebastian, I do adore thee so, that danger shall seem sport, and I will go. adds this complex and arguably homoerotic dimension to the play's exploration of love.
It is very intense.
It is. His devotion is absolute, self-sacrificing, and unrequited in a traditional sense. His profound affection, particularly in the face of Sebastian's swift heterosexual marriage to Olivia, leaves a poignant, dark note in the seemingly happy resolution.
Yeah, it reminds us that not all loves find their conventional fulfillment or recognition, and that some deeply felt bonds remain tragically unreciprocated.
Exactly.
Okay, we've walked through the whirlwind plot. We've met the unforgettable inhabitants of Illyria. Now let's truly unpack the layers and delve into the major themes that make Twelfth Night such an enduring masterpiece, resonating across centuries.
Let's do it.
And arguably, the most central, the very engine of the play, is mistaken identity and the profound power of disguise.
Absolutely. Viola's male disguise as Cesario is the central comedic and dramatic engine of the play. It generates almost all the misunderstandings, the romantic complications, the hilarious situations, and the poignant ironies.
But as we've noted, it's not simply a device for humor. It's much deeper than that.
That's the crucial insight, isn't it? This disguise is a powerful, almost transformative tool that enables Viola to navigate a new society, gain influence, and even challenge traditional gender roles.
Right. Her cunning role-playing unexpectedly empowers her in ways her female identity might not have, particularly in a society like Elizabethan England with its strict social hierarchies and even, sumptuary laws dictating who could wear what.
Which, by the way, were often broken and not particularly effective, highlighting the tension between prescribed identity and performed identity.
Good point.
And this theme deeply resonates with Elizabethan theatrical practices itself, where, famously, all female roles were played by young men. The play subtly highlights how identity can be performed, challenged, and even temporarily fluid through clothing and presentation, echoing the ineffectiveness of those very sumptuary laws. What's more, Maria's elaborate play-within-a-play trick on Malvolio, involving a forged letter and a ludicrous costume transformation, directly parodies Viola's own disguise.
Oh, that's a great connection.
Yeah, this mirroring illustrates how deception and performance, the deliberate manipulation of appearance, permeate various levels of Illyrian society, affecting everyone from the highest duke to the lowliest steward.
This brings us to another expansive and universally relatable theme. Love, in all its bewildering forms, showcasing its remarkable fluidity and frequent folly.
Yes. Twelfth Night offers a truly ambiguous portrayal of love, presenting an entire spectrum of it. You see Orsino's initial, almost theatrical lovesickness, which is more about the sensation than the person.
Right, then there's Olivia's impulsive, almost instantaneous and entirely mistaken passion for Cesario, a love born of visual deception.
And finally, the genuine, deep bond that forms between Viola and Orsino, and the straightforward affection between Viola and Sebastian.
And then, on the darker side of the spectrum, there's Malvolio's intense self-obsession and his delusional belief that Olivia loves him.
Which serves as a sharp satirical commentary on unhealthy forms of self-love, narcissism, and unbridled ambition, ultimately leading to his painful public humiliation.
The play also subtly contrasts the idealized, poetic declarations of love among the aristocracy with the more pragmatic, often crude double entendres and desires of the servants.
Right. It suggests that while nobles spout flowery poetry and philosophize about love, beneath the surface, love is at least partly motivated by desire and sex, highlighting a more grounded, earthy reality of human connection.
Yes, it's a much more grounded perspective from the servants.
Okay.
You really witness the full emotional arc of unrequited affection, Orsino for Olivia, Viola for Orsino, and the deeply poignant Antonio for Sebastian, alongside the joy of discovering reciprocal love. It truly showcases the unpredictable, sometimes irrational, and utterly transformative nature of human connection.
Yeah, the play teaches us that love can arrive in unexpected forms, at unexpected times, and often where you least expect it.
This naturally flows into the complex theme of gender roles and the fluidity of identity. Viola's sustained disguise as Cesario directly challenges fixed gender roles,
Massively.
demonstrating how societal perception and, crucially, social power can be shaped entirely by performance and outward appearance. As one insightful perspective puts it, Viola is a boy because her performance of being a boy succeeds, and she's treated as one by the world around her.
That's a great quote. Her success as Cesario proves that gender, to a significant extent, can be a construct of presentation and societal interaction.
And Orsino's deep attraction to Cesario, a person he unequivocally believes to be male, opens up fascinating multi-layered discussions about the complexities of attraction itself.
Right. In the Elizabethan context, this might be viewed as a type of queerness, reflecting the era's focus on interpersonal dynamics and patterns of behavior, on wit, intelligence, and shared sensibility, rather than rigid, modern identity labels or sexual orientation categories.
It forces us to consider how we define attraction, even today.
While contemporary discussions might naturally explore whether Viola could be seen as trans or non-binary from a modern standpoint, it's crucial to understand this through the historical lens of cross-dressing as a dramatic trope,
Okay.
a common theatrical device for comedy and disguise, rather than a direct modern label. The play ultimately resolves into perfectly normal heterosexual marriages, reinforcing societal norms.
Right.
Yet, it pointedly leaves open the intriguing question of Viola's comfort with abandoning her masculine persona, given Orsino still addresses her as boy, even after the big reveal. She agrees to put on her woman's weeds, but we never actually see it.
That is so interesting. I never thought about that lack of visual confirmation. Shifting gears a bit, let's explore the pervasive theme of melancholy, merriment, and the powerful carnivalesque spirit that permeates Twelfth Night.
Yes. The play is certainly a festive comedy, steeped in carnivalesque elements like social reversals, the subversion of authority, and of course, disguise.
And this is vividly represented in the symbolic battle between Carnival and Lent, personified by the boisterous, fun-loving Sir Toby and the ascetic, joy-hating Malvolio. It's a clash of ideologies.
The concept of carnival signifies a period of grotesque liberation and indulgence, a limited space or betwixt and between the real world where anything goes and pleasure is the norm. Think of historical festivals like the medieval Feast of Fools,
Right.
where clergy would invert roles and everything was permitted. Festi, the wise fool, truly represents the spirit of Twelfth Night festivities and the overturning of social order, embodying the temporary anarchy and joyous inversion that defines the holiday.
It's a world turned upside down, where the fool tells the truth and the sober are mocked.
But despite the exhilarating freedom and temporary triumph of revelry, the play subtly reminds you that this triumph is temporary.
Yeah.
The rejection of authority finally yields to a return to the norms of ordinary social life. Even the revelers like Sir Toby and Sir Andrew face consequences. They are, in a sense, punished by Sebastian's strength and their own continued folly, reinforcing that Carnival always loses in the end. As the post-holiday return to normalcy inevitably sets in, the party eventually has to end.
And Shakespeare also explores the darker side of overindulgence, particularly through Sir Toby's relentless drunkenness. While undeniably comedic, for example, when he complains about pickle herring and a headache after a night of drinking,
Ah, yes.
it functions as a social critique against excessive consumption as an abuse of health and power. In Elizabethan England, while alcohol was a staple due to unsafe water, excessive use was still frowned upon, especially among the upper classes, and could lead to real consequences, both social and physical.
Definitely.
And finally, a theme that underpins so much of the play's humor, its drama, and its enduring insight: appearance versus reality.
Ah, yes. This theme permeates Twelfth Night from beginning to end, as characters constantly mistake outward appearances for underlying truths. Viola's male disguise is, of course, the most obvious and central example, fueling nearly every plot point.
But Malvolio's grand illusion, fueled by a forged letter and his own monumental vanity, and Olivia's sudden mistaken love for Cesario, are equally central to the play's exploration of this theme.
Feste, the wise fool, as we mentioned, directly addresses this with his profound observation. Ciculus non facit monicum. The cowl makes not a monk.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly. It serves as a constant reminder that true wisdom isn't always found in expected places, nor is it defined by outward appearance, status, or clothing. He's essentially saying that his gesture's motley doesn't mean he has a foolish brain. Indeed, quite the opposite. He sees through the pretenses of others.
The play's dramatic climax, the grand reveal when the twins finally appear together, truly relies on the unmasking of identities and the revealing of truths. This spectacular moment shows how fragile and easily manipulated reality can be when based solely on outward appearances or personal desires. It's a masterful demonstration of how much we rely on what we see and how easily we can be fooled by both others and ourselves.
So true.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Twelfth Night, let's reflect on some of the enduring lessons and profound takeaways from this remarkable play, which continue to resonate deeply today.
Okay.
First and foremost, Viola's journey demonstrates the profound capacity for the human spirit to adapt and thrive, even in the most challenging and disorienting circumstances imaginable.
Her willingness to embrace a new, utterly transformative identity allows her to not only navigate adversity, but ultimately find connection and happiness. It's a powerful message about human resilience, ingenuity, and the ability to reinvent oneself in the face of chaos.
Yeah, she shows how adversity can be the crucible for strength and self-discovery.
And paradoxically, by adopting a false identity, Viola gains a deeper and more nuanced understanding of herself and others. She sees the world from a completely different perspective, gaining empathy for both Orsino and Olivia, and understanding their motivations in a way she never could as Viola. The play suggests that sometimes stepping outside of your perceived identity, donning a mask in a sense, can be a powerful path to self-recognition and understanding, allowing you to see the world and yourself with fresh, unburdened eyes.
It forces you to shed assumptions.
Then there's Malvolio's dramatic fall, which serves as a timeless caution against unchecked ambition, profound self-delusion, and the dangers of allowing pride to utterly blind you to reality.
Absolutely. His story reminds us that, as Festini himself later declares, the whirligig of time brings in his revenges.
He truly gets what he gave, in a way, doesn't he? As his self-serving contempt for others is turned back on him, showing how easily a distorted self-image can lead to complete social and psychological ruin. It's a cautionary tale as relevant in our image-driven world as it was in Elizabethan England.
So true. And finally, Twelfth Night concludes not with a perfect idealized resolution, but with a wonderfully nuanced, almost ambivalent ending.
Yeah, it's not all tied up with a neat bow.
Malvolio's furious vow of revenge, a truly unsettling note, and Festi's poignant final song about the wind and the rain that reigneth every day, remind us that life's challenges, its melancholic undertones, and its disruptive forces are an inherent, inescapable part of the human experience. Not every conflict is neatly resolved, nor is every character redeemed.
The battle of angry carnival and sullen, vindictive Lent is not concluded in the represented world of Illyria, nor is it ever concluded in the world offstage.
Wow.
It leaves us with the profound understanding that while joy and order may momentarily return, life's inherent complexities, contradictions, and lingering shadows persist. It's a beautifully honest acknowledgement that life is an ongoing dance between celebration and sorrow, and that neither fully triumphs over the other.
This deep dive into Twelfth Night has shown you how Shakespeare masterfully intertwines humor, love, and identity into a vibrant, unforgettable tapestry. We've explored how mistaken identities can lead to hilariously complex situations, but also to profound self-discovery. We've delved into the intoxicating power of revelry, balanced against the inevitable return to order, and how love, in all its messy, unpredictable forms, from Orsino's theatrical longing to Olivia's sudden delirium, can truly be a kind of beautiful, transformative madness that swoops you off your feet.
So as you reflect on the vibrant, topsy-turvy world of Illyria and its enduring human stories, consider this. What disguises do you wear in your own life, consciously or unconsciously?
Oh, good question.
Perhaps a professional persona, a social facade, or even just the roles you play for others. And what surprising truths might you discover about yourself or about love if you dare to shift them, even just for a moment, and embrace a little bit of that joyful, perhaps transformative delirium?